Good sir. Thank you for coming. I know you're a man of many time zones.
I appreciate it, but we're in the hood. We're in our hood.
Yeah, I'm trying to change the name one day to Brown Hook. Maybe.
Brown Hook.
So you're a fan, a friend, a family of the compound. You've been here before, but I always ask everybody, creatives, like when you step into the space and you see the art and everything, what inspires you when you see it? Like what goes off for you?
Man, I gotta say, your old space
In the Bronx.
the first time I walked in there years ago before we knew each other, just thought it was the coolest thing because you go to so many galleries and you go to so many art spaces and it's like not your language. And it was the first time I walked into a space where it felt like my language.
Wow.
And that's similar to when I walk in here now. It's just bigger, right?
Pretty much.
And I honestly feel a sense of pride because I'm just so happy for you and proud of you.
Thank you, man.
Because it's such a, people who have been here know, but it's a fucking beautiful building. It's a beautiful space. It's like one of one.
Totally.
And so it's dope to see all the work in totality, but it's also just dope to know that you built this.
So
that's what's inspiring, I think.
Well, no, thank you, man. It's well, I feel like my space is your work. What you have done in your career is the same feeling I get from seeing your work.
Respect, thank you.
So Compound Conversations is me, friends, people I'm fans of, and just all different walks of life for humans. But I don't care about the last moment. I kind of want to talk about the journey and give the listeners, the viewers, like a chronological order of your path. So you see we got the green and yellow elephant logo, one of the hardest logos, colorways in sports. I forgot my guy. It was a big baseball guy named back when I was young.
So that makes me think of Ricky Henderson, Dwayne Murphy, Carney Lansford, Dennis Eckersley, Dave Parker.
The greats.
I grew up in a town called Fremont, which is 20 minutes on the BART train from Oakland.
Okay.
And as young as 8 years old, I would go by myself or with my friends on the train to go see A's games.
Wow.
And it was just like, you get out at the BART station, you walk along the causeway, you see the stadium. This is before Al Davis got a hold of it. And it was a beautiful stadium. And it's like one of those old stadiums that was like, everything was like, it was like a perfect circle.
Yep.
Like old school 70s,
Totally.
Probably from the outside looking in, aesthetically not very pretty, but just like, it just was, I loved going to games there because it was so easy to get to. And the view from the stands before Al Davis, when he brought the Raiders back, built like the 4-story, 5-story seats. It just was this beautiful view of like the hills. And the Oakland Coliseum had like a Nation of Islam food stand that sold bean pies. Like it was just different. They're just wired differently there. So it was like dope to go see games there. So
yeah, so much culture, Black Panthers, and now to hear that you could get a final call at the A's game is just legendary. So you actually went, the way I start all the interviews off, you actually touched on it. Like, it's like, take us back, but now talk about what was the family? What brother of so-and-so? Was it mom and dad in the household? Did you live with your aunt or uncle? But like, take us to the beginning. How did it all start?
It's interesting. So my dad immigrated from India to the United States to go to engineering school.
Wow.
And then he went and on a summer break and then on a winter break went to go find a wife. And it's sort of like in Indian culture and Gujarati culture, which is, my parents are from a state called Gujarat. It was like interviewing someone for a job. Like there's no dating. You just meet, my grandparents here put an ad in the paper that says like, my son is coming back from America to find a wife, and you meet like 50 women.
Wow.
And so my dad met my mom and really liked her because what he told me is like, she was really independent, which is unusual for an Indian man to be attracted to independence. He got married to her and then they came back to the States, and I was born like a year later. And my dad was an engineer, so he traveled a lot. Like, I was born on a job site. He would work 6 months here and 6 months there.
Were you born in Oakland though?
No, I was born in Pennsylvania.
Oh, wow.
He was on a 6-month job, and then we moved from there to like Little Rock, and then from there we went to like Massachusetts. And so I was in Massachusetts till I was like 5, and became a Red Sox fan.
I could have had 2 hats on the table.
Hold on. I became a Red Sox fan because it was the only way, baseball was the only way for my parents to like talk to their neighbors. Right? They're like an immigrant Indian family on a cul-de-sac full of like white families. And but you know, my dad liked cricket, so he liked baseball. But baseball is the only language that we had in common. So I was raised, you know, with the little Red Sox hat and, you know, like playing baseball with the other kids in the neighborhood. And then they moved to California, to Fremont, California when I was 5. And that's sort of where like I mostly grew up.
That's where you grew up?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Can I drink this on the...
Please do. You know, no liquor brands will be seen in that cup. So, couple states going all around. 5, you pretty much, as soon as you get to Oakland, you're about to pretty much start school pretty much, right? And then talk about like now going all these states, going to Oakland, you know, being an Indian descent, like what was that like?
Well, I mean, I grew up in Fremont, so I don't want anyone from Oakland to get it twisted that I grew up in Oakland. I grew up in Fremont, but it's the East Bay, right? And it's just, you know, Oakland, I would hang out in Oakland, go to A's games, had friends in Oakland and Hayward. We'd go to San Francisco all the time on the weekends. And the Bay is just different, you know? And there's actually really a lot of difference between East Bay and San Francisco. Oakland is just tuned to a different frequency. And I would say growing up there was, you know, it's California, so it's very mixed. It's unusual if your friend group isn't mixed, right? So very early, I have black friends, Asian friends, refugee friends, immigrant friends. That's just normal. And I think that is kind of the foundation for me, right? Living in as a child of immigrants in a big Indian community in the East Bay, you know, go to temple with my parents, all the cultural things they would do, but also having a friend group. And I would learn, you know, I had a friend that was a Cambodian refugee, another that was like a black star basketball player, another that was like, you know, a kid of Mexican shop owners. And that was like my friend group, right? And that's kind of the foundation. It's really the sort of formation of like how I started to see the world. So
you got the Benetton ad in living color. Like
it really is like that. It's why Benetton started in the Bay. Like it's kind of like there's a reason for it.
I didn't even know it. So growing up there, of course, you know, now we see your world is music culture. I won't even just say hip hop culture. You know, growing, and it's you know, the Bay, I remember just hearing it all of the Too Shorts and the E40s and Keek the Sneak. One of my favorite songs is You See It from Keek the Sneak. People have been like, you know Keek the Sneak? I'm like, yeah. And, who's my man, Mr. Fab on the Yellow Bus?
Yeah.
So
Fab's a homie.
Yeah, so growing up, when did the culture of the arts start coming into your life, like music and fashion, and how did that like spawn upon you as a young person?
I mean, for me, it was music. Music is the way I formed my worldview. I became obsessed with music pretty young. I remember, you know, used to get the Sunday paper with like the Columbia records and cassette, like 8 albums for $1 or for a penny, right? I would always fill those out because I didn't know. I was little. I didn't read the fine print.
Yeah.
And I'd get like 8 cassettes in the mail. And then my mom was like, "What are you doing? This is a subscription. We have to pay for it." And then she'd cancel it, and then I'd do it again. Like I'm like, "Yo, 8 cassettes for a penny. Like this is a deal."
And what was the cassette? What music was you filling up?
Everything. Like for me, it was like early. It was like Van Halen, Run DMC, U2. That was like kind of like the first batch of stuff that I was buying, right? Too Short, we would play football on the cul-de-sac all the time, and like people were playing Too Short. When I got to high school, I became super obsessed with music. I was like a goth skateboard kid that listened to rap music. Like it was like I was like pretty early. Like my favorite groups were like Public Enemy, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, The Cure, and like Bauhaus. Like it was like pretty diverse, right?
Diverse, yeah.
And then I get to college at UC Davis, and that really changes my life. And in high school, I started listening to college radio.
Okay.
That's where I was listening to I was listening to KZSU Stanford, KFJC in Los Altos Hills, CalX in Berkeley. And I found the music I liked more on the college stations than any other commercial station. And I was buying records at Rasputin's at the time. This is even pre-Amoeba, right? So buying records at Rasputin's and Leopold's in Berkeley. I'd go, we'd take the BART train there. We'd go to Leopold's and Rasputin both, buy CDs, buy cassettes, buy records, go get a slice at Blondie's or Fat Slice, like go to the bookstore. Like it was like a journey.
You had your routine.
It was a routine. It was like, same thing we do now. Like really, you go to the shop and you see people and
go get a burger and then go to the record store.
Yeah, and it's like, and so that was my social circle and sort of like what I did for fun. And then, but music was really the gateway to everything for me. Obsessing over the aesthetics of music, the album covers, the liner notes. It's how I learned about literature and politics and photography and art. And what's this song about? Oh, this song is about a book called The Stranger by Albert Camus. And then I'm like, who the fuck is Albert Camus?
Keep digging the rabbit hole.
You keep digging, right? And it's like, and this is all pre-internet, right? And then it's just like, so I think like where I sit now in my life, and I feel maybe it's similar with a lot of us, is my life is just the accumulation of a series of obsessions I've had in my life. You know what I mean?
We have picked things instead of drugs.
Yes.
It's totally how I feel. So it's funny, I interviewed a couple other writers and journalists, and one of the things, it's like a correlation between writers and music, because the way y'all dissect music is different than just a regular person that listens. Because the next phase was, you're in college and you have the We Are the World feel of music, friends, and just everything, and then your family from traveling. Was the studying of music and listening to music, was that like what inspired you to start being like, okay, now it's time to start writing about music?
So how I got into music journalism is in high school, I had friends that were really big on making zines. And mostly skate kids. We were the ones going to shows in the city. And I went to a lot of shows in high school. And I lied to my parents. Sorry, Mom. I told my parents I was in a band and I'm going over to my friend Noel's house to we're going to record and we're just going to hang out. But instead we're like driving to San Francisco at 16 years old to go see a group and then coming back at like 2 a.m. And my mom would be terrified if she knew that's what I was doing.
I did the same thing from Philadelphia to New York.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's like, and I look back now and I'm like, I would not let my 16-year-old drive to San Francisco to go see a show in downtown San Francisco. And so my friend did a zine my senior year of high school that I wrote for. I interviewed Chad Smith from Red Hot Chili Peppers. And we put it in this little rinky-dink skate zine that there's 100 copies of. But I love the idea of interviewing him. And I look back on it now and I still have the tape and I still have the interview and still have the zine. And it's just like really juvenile stuff. But my second interview in my freshman year of college for his other zine was with Fife from A Tribe Called Quest. Wow. And I was like, I really like this because I get to ask this artist about this thing that I like and how it got made and what they were thinking. At the same time, I met this guy, Jeff Chang. He had the hip hop show at KDVS in Davis. And Jeff Chang, I went to his show. He's like, yeah, I called. He's like, come through Wednesday nights, come through. So I went down there. Jeff was writing for magazines. And I was like, well, I wrote for this zine. Like, I'm going to start writing for these magazines. And
I'm ready for the big league.
Yeah, and and then at the same time, so I was hanging out at Jeff's show, which was like one of 2 hip hop shows on the radio station. The radio station itself was like a dream. It was this incredible, huge music library, really big jazz collection. I'm talking thousands and thousands of records. And I just was overwhelmed. I was like, oh, I can come here and I can volunteer at the station so I can get a show next semester. But I can also come here anytime I want and just listen to any records I want in the listening room. And so I spent Thursday, Fridays, Saturdays for hours every night, not at frat parties, but at the radio station listening to records. Wow. And it was just like a parallel education. And Jeff turned out to be my mentor. Jeff Chang wrote this book, Can't Stop, Won't Stop, incredible hip-hop history book. He was also very politically active. So
this was before Diddy, that name of the book?
Yeah, this is before this book came out like 20 years ago. And it's an incredible history of hip-hop. The first chapter starts with The Bronx is Burning, and it frames hip-hop not just culturally, but politically as well. And Jeff was like, he's like, yeah, you want to write? I'm writing for these little hip hop scenes that are popping up. I can put you on. And this is 1990, right? So the Bomb hip hop magazine out of San Francisco. I meet Dave Paul. Jeff introduces me to Dave Paul. Dave Paul's putting out this magazine called The Bomb. He's like, yeah, you want to do some reviews for me or interview some artists? I'm like, yeah. I start writing for him. And then there's a magazine out of Seattle called The Flavor. So I started writing for them. Meanwhile, I'm doing a radio show on KDVS every week, a hip hop show. All these people who were meeting at Jeff's show, we end up forming a record label called Soul Sides. It's DJ Shadow, it's Black Alicious, it's Lyrics Born, Latif the Truth Speaker, a little West Coast hip hop crew. And so I'm doing the record label, I've got the radio show, they're doing freestyles on my show, I'm writing for magazines. I'm interviewing Nas pre-Illmatic. I'm interviewing Souls of Mischief, Fugees, like
everybody,
and everyone. You know this because you were on the other side of it.
Yeah.
Everyone would come to the Bay. You'd meet all the radio reps.
Yep.
Right. I mean, like Benny B, who had a show on Calex. Like we were all like a little collective. Kevy Kev at KZSU Stanford, he had a show.
This was like when Sway was still, the Wake Up Show was in Oakland.
Sway was still doing the Wake Up Show.
In Oakland, yeah.
And so it was like, I just got immersed. Meanwhile, I'm supposed to be in college, right? And so I get immersed in this world where I'm just like, this is crazy. And it just felt really, and the thing I would say about hip hop journalism at that time is there's no school for it.
That's all.
And so I'm reading Cheo Coker and James Bernard in The Source, and I'm like, I want to do this.
This is it.
And because they were incredible writers, but they learned it on the fly.
We all did.
Yeah, we all did, and to me that's the spirit of hip hop. Like it's not fake it till you make it. That's inaccurate. It's you do whatever you can. You make it up as you go along, and just make it fly.
I think I just came up with it. Is do it till you prove it.
But even when you're doing it, you are proving it. Like it's interesting. Like
yeah, because we didn't know what we was doing, but we was writing it while we was doing it. My little history. I was actually signed to Tommy Boy Records in 1996.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I was a DJ producer for a group named Deadly Snakes.
Oh wow.
Anyway, I don't even know what happened, how we got the name, but long story short, I learned about the Wake Up Show then. So I got a chance to meet Sway early, and I was like, yo, it was Revolution, was Sway, King Tut, and Revolution, right?
Yeah, Wake Up Show.
Yeah. All three of them. And that's when I learned about, and I started learning more about the Bay. And of course, we all heard Tupac in the Bay and, Black Panthers for me, but it was an interesting place. And it made me want to start learning more about over there. So when you touch on magazines, you touched on The Bomb and these names, we never heard of them over there. For me, it was Word Up, of course, The Source. I'm trying to think, Right On.
Yeah.
Writing for them, and you see in The Source, was it a longing for like, okay, I want to write in those magazines.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
But at the same time, was the other part, I got to get to the East.
Sort of. I knew I wanted to write for those magazines, and how it worked is I'd write for the Bomb and the Flavor and whatever One Nut Network and all that stuff, right? Wherever it was in the country. And then I'd take those clips and I'd go to a magazine. In 93, 92, or 93, 92, I started writing for Herb magazine. That was a full color glossy out of LA.
Yeah.
And it was like, and then those clips looked good. And then I took those and I sent them to the Source. And then Ego Trip was there. And like, what was the one, the Espo and On the Go?
On the Go.
So I'm like, I would just hustle clips anywhere.
Okay.
Starting to fall in love with writing, not just interviewing artists, but actually writing stories and writing criticism. Then I said, like, because I was also like an economics and English major, double major.
Wow.
And so I was like starting to take writing more seriously. And then I remember conversations with like Jeff Chang and James Bernard and Cheo being like, and then Michael Gonzalez I was reading. And like, I was just like, I want to be a real writer, like real critic. I remember I got published in the Source for the first time in 93. And it was just like, oh man, you couldn't tell me nothing. I was like, it's just a small thing. But about 2 years later, I was writing, I think my first cover story was like 96 maybe,
and
96 or 97.
And what was your cover story?
So my first cover story as a journalist was for Rap Pages magazine.
Okay.
It was on The Roots in 1996.
That's when you met the Fro.
And that's when I was still living in the Bay, I'd graduated from college. I had left Soul Sides, because my parents didn't understand them paying for college and me working at an independent record label where I wasn't getting paid. and I was still writing for magazines. I got flown out to Philly to interview the Roots. And not only did I meet Amir and become friends with him, just like instantly.
Did you meet at like the Larry Gold studio?
No, I met him at we did this thing, it was a goofy thing. I met him at fucking like Ishkabibbles or something like that.
Oh, wow.
Like I was just like.
The stand-up one where you had to stand outside the window?
Yeah, it's like the little stand with the small one.
The little window.
Yeah. I think I met him there somewhere. And we did the interview, and then Amir was like, I live in South Philly, just come hang. And we went to his house, and it was like August, so it was like sweltering.
Yep.
And it was like, he played me, he had just met D'Angelo.
Okay.
And the first time they met, like 2 days later, they went into the studio and just jammed for 6 hours. So he was playing me that.
Wow.
And he lived in this house in South Philly with like 10 other people. And the next day we drove, they played Summer Stage. So I did the Amir interview that first day. The next day I did the Tariq part of the interview while we were driving from Philly to New York.
Was Tariq still living on 7th and Snyder? Or?
It was off 7th somewhere,
Yeah,
yeah.
7th Snyder, yeah.
And then and I interviewed Kamal and Hub and I got to see Summer Stage for the first time. It was incredible. Yep. A month later, I'm back in New York interviewing A Tribe Called Quest. Like a month after that, it was just like the writing took off and it was cool. Didn't pay the bills at all. I was still living at home, but I was getting flown all over the country. But I loved seeing my name in print. I loved writing about these artists and trying to and the Roots story changed my life. It actually affects all this today because Sheena Lester was my editor. She assigned me the Roots story. She said it was going to be a cover. It was my first cover story as a writer. Rap Pages had incredible art direction back in the day, better than the Source, I would contend. And Brent Rollins and Brian Cross were like the two people responsible for all the Rap Pages covers.
Wow.
But Sheena left after she assigned me the story, and so then Dream Hampton took over as editor. And my first draft of the Roots cover story was very gatekeepy. I know what real hip hop is, you don't. And the whole intro of the story was the Roots are real hip hop and this other stuff. And I think Jay-Z had just come out. And I'm like, this other stuff like Jay-Z and whatever is not real hip hop. And Dream calls me and she says, listen. She's like,
you gotta chill out.
She's like, you are not a gatekeeper. She's like, hip hop is whatever little black and brown kids say it is. If it's yellow and blue today, and tomorrow they say it's green and purple, then it's green and purple. And that shit changed my life.
So what's so funny?
Because I realized I was like, oh, you're right. I am an observer.
Yeah.
I'm not. And KRS went through this in the late 90s too, early 2000s, where he said, this is the temple of hip hop, and this is hip hop, and this is not hip hop. And Dream is just like, nah, hip hop is whatever the kids say it is. Yeah. And that made me realize that I have to just write about what I appreciate and why, and also it's going to change, it's going to morph, and to just appreciate the artistry and the creativity of it, because it is still a youth-driven culture. We can have our favorites.
Yeah.
It's still youth-driven.
Still youth.
And that has made me not a very there's new shit that comes out every day that I fucking love. Yeah, I could have been one of these crusty dudes who was just like, I used to be better back then.
Yeah.
But she just changed my life with
Changed your
all of
perspective
it.
on it.
Yeah. So
That's amazing.
shout out Dream.
So now, the light bulb has went off. I made it. My name is in almost every magazine I wanted in. I got a cover. I
did a cover for The Source right after. You remember that cover? I think it was Mannion shot it. It was Mos Farrow and Black Thought.
Yeah.
So I did one of those 3 cover stories.
That was black and white. I was having. I think they had bats and like. It was no.
I think it was like them, like shoulders up, the 3 of them.
3 of them, yeah.
And I think Mannion shot that at Spring Street Studios when it was on Spring Street.
Yep.
I remember
Shouts
going.
out Jonathan.
Yeah, and I remember going to the shoot, and I wrote the black. Oh no, fuck, I forget. I wrote the Mos story. I forget which story I wrote for that cover. I either wrote Mos or Pharaoh's Monch cover, but when I got a cover on The Source, you couldn't
tell me nothing.
Nothing. I was like, I bought like 20 copies. I was like, yo.
No, I think that's everybody in hip hop. Whatever that is, if you were in like the New York Times, or you're in a magazine, or your first album, you want to go buy as many copies as possible.
Yeah, and you should.
Yeah, totally. You definitely should. You don't know where they at now, but you should. You glad you did.
I know. It's funny actually. I have everything saved and cataloged, like in a box.
You're better than
like
the average.
every piece I ever wrote, I have 2 copies of, at least, and like in a box in cold storage.
Now you got to digitize though.
Now I got to digitize them. Yeah.
So let's go to the next jump, because even for me, like it was, I was a DJ first, and then I got my job with A&1, and then, marketing and like directing, not even knowing I was a director, started happening. What was the progression of going from like, okay, writer, but now, and not because sometimes you go into the film world and you don't even know what you want to do yet. You're like, do I want to be a director? Do I want to be a producer? Do I want to be, like, what was that transition now of like, okay, I'm about to go to the next level of, creativity?
It didn't feel like next level to me. What it was I got a job at MTV in 2003. And I came in as a writer, and the roots play a really big part in my journey. I was doing some writing for MTV News Online, and then they were also producing pieces and producing shows on the same floor, same department, right? And I pitched a story, and the Roots were recording a new album in Philly at their studio on North 7th, right?
Yep.
And they turned it into a strip club. And they were having all the strippers come by at night, and they were just jamming 24 hours a day, right? And so I was like, since I knew this, I knew Rich and I knew Amir and Tariq, and so I was like, all right, this is the story. I want to go do a story on the Roots. So they're like, oh, send a camera. They're like, we're going to send a producer and director with you so you can like shoot this. So I pitched the story. I did all the interviews. It was me and a shooter, producer, director / so it's 2 of us. I did all the interviews. I told them what to shoot. We come back. I get all the interviews, like I put the story together on paper, and then I said, this is the footage we should use here, this is the footage we should use here. We go in with an editor, the editor cuts the story according to my script. Yep. It comes out, and the piece, the card right before it airs, it says, the Roots record a new album, the Roots turn studio into strip club, producer, and it's the other guy's name. I'm like, why are you the producer?
Why you get no credit?
I pitched the story, I did all this work. He's like, well, I was the shooter. And I was just like, nah, like, so I went to my boss and I'm like, but I really loved that I was learning how to storytell in a different way. And and also at the time, 2002, 2003, the bottom fell out of the writing world and media world. Yeah. I was getting like $2 a word at some magazines, and suddenly it's like 25 cents a word. You can't live off that. So I asked my boss, I'm like, what is that? He's like, no. He's like, actually, story. I will teach you how to be a producer, pitch a piece, and you can be the producer. In TV, the producer at MTV, the producer is the director. So I learned in my time at MTV between 2003 and 2009, I learned how to shoot, edit, produce, direct. I started doing 3-minute pieces, then it turned into 30-minute shows, then it turned into hour-long shows. So like interviews with Jay-Z, the Jay-Z and Nas, when they squashed the beef, MTV show, like I directed that. The, you know, key interviews with Beyonce, Justin Timberlake, Kanye, this is what I was doing. And then I created a show in 2005 called My Block. So when I was at MTV, you know who I started producing? Sway. He was the on-air talent. I was his producer. And so when I pitched My Block, I was in love with like Houston hip hop, and I heard Still Tippin' on a mixtape that came out in like 2003 or 2004. And then I went to the Bay in 2004 and I heard it on the radio in the Bay. And I was like, oh, this song's gonna blow the fuck up. So I pitched this show. I'm like, let's go to Houston and do a whole week of stories on Houston hip hop. We did, and then my boss was like, let's put it into a half-hour TV show and put it on MTV. We came up with the name My Block. And then it did really, really well.
Was this before Scarface record or after?
Right after, because we did it as a tribute to the Scarface record. And it's a perfect name, right?
Totally.
And then it did so well. We did Memphis after that, and then we did Atlanta. And we ended up doing 8 episodes. And it was like, I loved it because it was something I created. It was something I was directing. It was the first documentary look at hip hop organized by cities, just at the right time when cities were different scenes were popping up, right?
Music for the cities. Yep.
And what I loved is every city was different, but every city was also very similar.
Totally,
right?
Especially what had the music culture.
Music culture, like there's some, like they all
similarities.
Have. There's different slang, there's different cars, there's different food, there's different, styles,
fashion,
jewelry, but they're all
together same, and it all comes from all minorities pretty much.
So that was my transition from journalism into visual storytelling, and I loved it because I hated writing. The act of writing is terrible. It's like, you sit in front of a computer for 8 days, you waste time, you procrastinate, and then on the one day past the deadline, you like rush to like write it all in 3 hours.
Yep.
I liked visual storytelling because it was like, oh, I can show this, not tell it. And then you start, again, it's the hip hop mentality of how I started writing and how we all started all this shit. Is you're curious and you just do it. And you learn from learn from there. You learn from the doing it.
Yep. So what's amazing, man, is that, my transition is kind of parallel. It was for me interviewing a lot of people pretty much in the sports world, and being a DJ, it's like you're always looking at a crowd, you're understanding people, and it's like I always looked at it like me interviewing and doing like being a DJ and all this is what got me to be able to do direct, things, and it seems like your path of all these things of writing and interviewing people, and this love for me being a director is more just documentaries of what I do, and the same with yourself, and it seemed like it's no different from interviewing the style that you did before, taking that to film now.
And not even interviewing, just like really storytelling, right? Because when I was writing for magazines, I interviewed, like I've posted this on my Instagram too, where it's like I recorded all my interviews. All my tapes are labeled properly. It's like who I interviewed, what the date was, where it was, if it was on phone or in person, where it was. But then, back in the day when money's tight, I have this interview with, Prince Paul, and it runs the entirety of side A and part of side B. Well, the next interview I get, whoever it is, I'm filling up the rest of side B. Well, that next person that's a 20-minute interview on the phone with Natalie Portman for this movie thing that you're writing. It's like, so your tapes, my tapes are all like, it's like Prince Paul, Natalie Portman, and like Mos Def. And then it's like Mos Def and TV on the Radio and Portishead, like all on the same tape. Like it's like crazy, right?
It's a body of work, all right?
It's a body of work, and I saved everything. And what's funny is, but the storytelling part of it. So when we did Summer of Soul, and one of the things a really close friend of mine said, when Amir and I made Summer of Soul, and it came out, we just wanted to make the movie that we wanted to see and that our friends would like and our parents would like. And that sweet spot is, I think, what the movie so good, right? Truth be told, had no understanding that the movie we made could be up for awards.
Was that your first movie?
It was my first. It was technically my second feature,
Okay.
but really my first that ever came out in theaters. I made a
yes.
movie in 2010 when I worked at Vice on independent garage rock bands, but that was like a collaborative effort. Like Summer Soul is the first real movie I made that went into theaters, but I had no idea like how awards worked. It was the farthest thing from my mind.
Yeah, and y'all won the award.
And we won every award. Like, honestly, like, we won the Oscar, but we won a Peabody, a BAFTA. We won Sundance, both the Audience Award and the Grand Jury Prize.
Yeah.
We won a PGA. We won a National Board Arts.
Clean sweep.
Clean sweep.
Yeah.
But the best moment I ever had with that movie is because we edited it during COVID, so it was all remote. The best moment I had is when the movie was done and it was finished. Me and Amir went to go watch it at the Dolby Theater in Midtown, first time on a big screen. And he brought Ezra Edelman, who did the OJ doc, world-class fucking doc director.
Yep.
Three of us are in theater and we watch it beginning to end. And Ezra, who's won an Oscar and an Emmy and every fucking award, he turns around, he says, "Y'all got one." And I had already felt that feeling, like where I was like, oh, this movie's great. And he turned around, he's like, "Y'all got one. You better get ready." And I was like, what does he mean by that? And then it's like, oh, I know what he meant by that. But the best thing anyone said to me, and I forget who said this, they said, everything in this movie feels like the accumulated experiences you had put you here. It doesn't feel brand new. It feels like you incrementally worked your way here.
You and Amir both went through your careers to get to that moment.
And it's funny because like I used every skill and talent and experience that I had in my life prior to put into that movie. Amir did the same thing. It didn't feel like we were making a leap. It just felt like the next step.
The next step.
And even after Summer Soul, when we made the Sly documentary, it felt like because Amir likes analogies. He's like, "Oh, we made Illmatic. Now we got to make. What do we do after Illmatic?" And I'm like, I don't know.
Ready to die.
You know what I mean? It's like, what do we do? So like, when we were making the Sly documentary, he's like, well, this can't be like Nas' second album. We got to make like De La Soul's Dead. It's like, so it's really funny, but it's like it just feels like everything. I feel like a late bloomer, and I feel like I don't. I mean, you got to feel this way too, I imagine. Is you look around and you're like, this feels like the next step. It doesn't feel like I didn't win the lottery. I literally earned this shit.
Totally.
But it feels like just the next step. And I'm really excited about what the step after is.
It's funny, man. I'm sitting here listening to your story. My 30 for 30, I did in COVID time too.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, I shot it all through Zoom pretty much.
Wow.
I was living in Mexico for a year and a half.
Really?
Yeah, and that was just a growing, and I knew that was my first feature, and I knew that was like, this is really, funny story is, everybody was telling me, you can't be a director for that. They was like, you're gonna be a producer. And I was like, I don't wanna be a producer.
Yeah.
And I literally, the film got greenlit, I was a producer. My brother, one of my best friends, Chris Robinson, was the main director. Chris Robinson got pulled away kind of halfway through the movie to go do the LeBron doc.
Yeah.
Didn't have a director now.
Yeah.
And I got all the talent, the music, the story, everything, and I was like, I need to be a director to finish this. And it was a defining moment in my career, and it's like you said, it took, it's the same with like the format that if both of you and Amir didn't do, you wouldn't have been able to get all those talents. And it was like being able to like have those relationships for all those years. And it's so much that went into making that doc for me. I sat back one day and I was like, wow, if I didn't go, I actually said in the documentary, I literally had to write the questions to ask myself when I did my part of the film. And I remember I was like, if I would have changed anything in my trajectory, this wouldn't have been what it is today.
Yeah, that's it.
And like you said, everything that we have done in the past is helping us get to where we at now.
Yeah.
So, question one of the things, because I knew the roots, Tariq and Amir and James and Kamal and all them, since we was younger. I always looked, I was like, Batman and Superman is what Quest and Tariq is to me, and music and what they was doing, and I just was like, I could never see him with another partner. And I was like, when I started seeing the directional change of Quest in film, and he can do anything. He's like Dr. Octopus with the 8 arms, Dr. Octagon. How did that come? Because it's a difference when you see 2 people work together, right? But you could see it's a brotherhood with y'all. And it shows in the film. How did that come together?
I mean, it really was when I mean, it's a long story. The short version is, Amir, I got approached. I had done a job for this company called Radical Media because I wanted to get back in TV and film. I was like head of content at Vivo, chief creative officer at Vivo, and Fader before that, right? And so I was doing digital content. And I was like, I want to get back into like TV and film. And I did a project for Radical, just development work. They came to me and they're like, do you know Questlove? And I'm like, yeah, I've known him for like 20 plus years. They're like, we just signed him to be a director. And they told me the story idea. And I was like, no way this happened. So I called Amir, and I hadn't talked to Amir in a few years. Like we were still homies, but like we didn't talk all the time. And I was like, did you know about this festival that happened in '69? And they have footage? He's like, no. He's like, I never knew this existed. So I went to go meet with him, and I'm like, why do you want to do this movie? Because I know I'm going to do all the work, you're going to get all the credit, but like, I want to know why you want to do this. And he told me, he's like, listen, he's like, can you imagine being our age and knowing, and this was celebrated as much as Woodstock, what that would have done, not for our trajectories, but for other people. Yeah. And I was like, okay, he wants to do this for the right reasons. The thing about Amir is, in making that movie with him, he showed a lot of trust in me, and I understand his shorthand. Like, he'll talk in riddles, but I know exactly his, like, he'll be like, at the end of Purple Rain when they do that thing, and I'm like, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep. This is what he means. And I translate for the editor. This is what he means, right? Yep. The thing about us working together is Summer of Soul is a story that could only be told from Amir's perspective as a black kid of a certain age, knowing that this thing, Woodstock, got celebrated, but this thing in Harlem didn't get celebrated, and why Black history is American history, and we have to remember it. That's a perspective Amir could have that I can't. Yep. But the way we work together is he does some producing things and I do some directing things, and it's a really good collaboration because we don't care about titles, we trust each other. And we did the same thing with Sly, where it's like, he might have to put in a call to a couple people to get him to do the interview. Totally. And at the same time, I might have to do the interviews for a couple of people because
he's busy.
He's busy, or he's like too much of a star where they won't give us the real shit, right? Totally. So there's a lot of boundary crossing, but we don't trip off that, and I think that's what makes it good, right? For me, Summer of Soul, I said I've never done a project where if we just met on an airplane, like you're different, but if I just met regular homeboy on an airplane and they said, what do you do? And I said, I'm a filmmaker. The first question they're going to say is, what have you done that I've seen? I didn't have one of those. Yeah. And so I was like, I really want one of those. So when they approached me with Summer of Soul, I'm like, this could be my thing, where I said, have you seen this? Yeah. And it turned out to be
a dream.
More than I can imagine.
Last one. You're doing film, you've done writing, you DJ'd on the side. I know you did. Nobody knows about that, but you.
I did a radio show for 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when it's all said and done now, and like continuing to do more, because documentaries, people tell me all the time, it's time for you to do a short, or it's time for you. Like, what is the next stage that you want to see yourself go to?
Honestly, it's teaching. It's teaching the youth. It's that feeling when you get told you can't direct?
Yes, I do.
Or when your credit gets stolen?
Yes, I do.
That feeling? What I've sort of dedicated myself to between now and the end of my career / life, I'm going to still make things that I'm interested in and curious about, but I'm spending a concerted amount of effort trying to educate young Black and brown creatives on to avoid those situations, or to know that when you're in a situation where you have a story to tell and you want to tell it, you know how to tell it, and they're telling you you can't tell it, here's how you ask for it. Because I think, not that I would change anything in my journey, but if someone had just given me 5 minutes of advice, it would have saved me like 4 years of suffering. And so I'm just like, I do a lot of mentorship. Anybody who reaches out to me who's like a young filmmaker, particularly Black and brown filmmakers, I'll give them time. And I think if that can just help them get closer to the thing they want to do and not have to worry about the bullshit that gets forced on us by the industry and by agencies, then I'm like, let me do that.
Well, Joseph, thank you. I'm going to be reaching out to you for help.
Yeah, no, that'll help. Collaboration. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Cheers, man.
Cheers,
you have anything left in there?
I do.